Hey there, this is Ben Currier, self-proclaimed world's #1 failure. In this podcast, we'll learn about the hardest moments my guests faced and the failures they endured on their path towards making it. I hope you enjoy. Hey there, friends of failure, and welcome to this week's episode of the Failure Guy podcast. I am here with my friend Damon Manley. Damon, how are you doing, my buddy?
I'm good, brother. Good to see you, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Do you want to give the listeners a little bit of a background on you in terms of maybe pumping yourself up? Let's inflate you before we maybe deflate you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. So my name is Damon Manley. I'm also known as at Winning with ADHD on Instagram. Kind of that's where our brand is right now. I'm an ADHD coach, also known as an executive functioning coach. I've been doing that for about a year. I actually think last week was my year anniversary of starting the business, not necessarily for making money, which we'll get into a bit later. But a little background on me, I grew up here in Charleston, born and raised my entire life. And then I decided to actually graduate and go to College of Charleston for exercise science. So I graduated with a bachelor's in exercise science. Never used it. So I ended up walking out of college with $30,000 in debt and just a piece of paper basically and a whole bunch of memories. The best thing that came from college for me was I met my beautiful wife, got married right after graduation in 2017. And from there, I went to work for 6 years at Chick-fil-A, which is, if you're from the South or most of the US, it's an amazing chicken restaurant that does fast food right. So that's where I got a sense of business. And I think that's probably one of my more proud times of my life is that I, learned how to run a business at 22 years old, just from doing it, and had a lot of wins and losses there, a lot of failures, a lot of learned experiences. I led to burnout, which is eventually what led me to full-time entrepreneurship and to my first big failure, I think, which again, we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But
I'm going to say my first guest. No, that sounds dumb if I don't know that. Somewhere between 1 and 13th guest. His name is Bing Oliver. I think it's 13. He was a Chick-fil-A franchise owner, and he loves talking to former Chick-fil-A employees and stuff. Also, as a side note, I thought it was called Chick-fil-A growing up because I'm an idiot. And also, the spelling does not look like Chick-fil-A. So if nobody ever says it to you or points it out while you're looking at it, you could maybe think it's Chick-fil-A.
That's right.
Would you go back and pay $30,000 just to get your wife?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay.
Perfect. So it's not just a piece of paper, right?
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah, that's great. That's a good question.
Because I went twice. I went for undergrad and graduate, and I still got nothing, or at least I got fired from all my jobs. So
yeah,
clearly that didn't work out too well. Happy 1-year anniversary as a coach.
Appreciate it.
Don't worry about making money because I'm on my 10-year anniversary with a business, but it was free for the first 8 years and I was paying money to teach people. So, whatever anniversary makes sense to celebrate, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I did not know you're in Charleston. So what's it like over there these days?
Love it, man. I take the beach for granted. I'm definitely one of those people that's like a greedy local, I guess. I don't love the beach, which people like move here for the beach. And I'm like, I'm ready to get away from the beach. But the town and cities as a whole are pretty incredible. I went to college, like I said, on the peninsula downtown, which is like a totally different environment and culture compared to the rest of the surrounding areas. And it's really like a melting pot. So I love it. I mean, yeah, it's just been great. Even though, like I said, I went to College of Charleston, I felt like I was home away from home in the sense I was very familiar with the area, but it was so different from where I grew up, even though I was like 10 minutes away. It just felt like I was still away from my family and, with parents and kind of like freedom type feeling. So love it. Love it. I'm looking to get away eventually though, maybe to mountains or something like that. But
hey, that's what I did. So I grew up in Salem, Massachusetts, which is right near the ocean. It's actually right on the ocean, but it's cold as all hell up there. And then I moved to the mountains to Colorado when I was 27. So I'd suggest if you want the mountains, Colorado's a great place.
Are you a snowboarder or a skier, or you just like the mountains?
I went once or twice in 8 years that I lived there. And so
wow,
I'm what they call an idiot for not taking advantage of it. But you got to wake up at like 5 a.m. and beat all the traffic and have people who are with you who have skis and stuff. Like It was fun. It was amazing. Way better.
That's like my passion, man. That is snowboarding is my passion. Yeah.
Really? Oh man.
Everything I do right now is to that end, basically, is to move to a mountain and
That's where
go
you need to go
snowboard every day.
then, because the pow pow is fresh, but I don't clearly know enough. But when I was back in Boston, the closest place was Vermont, and it'd be like an ice sheet, and I'd be like, whatever, pizza slicing my way down with the skis, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Also, what? Why is it so icy?
Yeah.
But when you're in Colorado, it's like really nice and easy. And I finally got the hang of it. But I've never tried snowboarding because I heard you got to just either hurt your ass a lot or fall on your face. I guess there's two options, right?
Yep. Fair enough.
Back
That's
and
right.
forward. What got you
I was
into
much better at
snowboarding?
snowboarding though. I hated skiing. I almost never went back to a mountain because the first 2 or 3 times I skied and I hated it.
Well, Charleston ain't nowhere near no
Right.
snow. So where'd you go snowboarding for the first time?
So it's terrible. Yeah, that's like, it's the funniest oxymoron ever is I live in Charleston, but I love to snowboard. Like what? My closest snowboarding like mountain is like 4 hours away. What really got me into that is I went out west to Oregon to Bend, Mount Bachelor. It's a volcano. You can snowboard like 360 degrees around it. It's pretty insane. But
Is my name with a D at the end?
yeah, exactly. Bend, Oregon. It's also like a very small Charleston up in the mountains. It's pretty
Yeah,
funny. So
I get
love
the
it.
bend over thing quite a bit. So, um, but bendo are really with Oregon. So what led you to even figure out that you had ADHD? I imagine that happened before you became a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question. Thank you. As I said, I luckily graduated college, but I went in with high hopes. Wanted to be I went in pre med, did very very well in middle and high school, and was kind of expected to make A's from my family. So I went to college thinking, okay, I never really had to study. The college is gonna be easy. I'll be just fine. I almost failed out my freshman year. At the end of my first semester of freshman year, I had a 1.8 GPA, which is academic probation. But I really, really enjoyed being at college, like the partying, the friends, the freedom. Basically, is
Of course, we all did. I mean, that's where I first got drunk. But wait, what did you feel about being on academic probation when they gave you that label? They said, "Slap. Here's a probation." How'd you feel?
yeah, it was terrible, man. I think the worst part, though, the biggest emotion I felt was probably just fear. One from my dad was very, very strict and didn't, it was very much like if you don't pull it up, don't get your crap together, you're coming home. And I'm like, I don't want to go home. I'm ready. I love being an adult, and
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid.
yeah, yeah,
That kind of thing.
yeah. So, I kind of did the bare minimum that I could to pass the second semester. I actually brought it up. I just enough to balance it out to a 2.0, which like could keep you in. And so I did like a 2.3 my second semester.
Were you barely trying, or were you trying your hardest?
No, I mean, I don't know. So I don't think I knew how to study, literally. Like I didn't have any structure. I had no like study skills. It looked like work ethic, but really what it was, I was just avoiding studying because I didn't know what I was doing. And
So Chick-fil-A had the blueprint. They're like a franchise thing. So it's like, here's all the rules. Follow these rules, and you're all
yeah,
good. But college
absolutely.
is like, go have fun and also figure out how to do school. And you're like,
It was all on your end. There's no accountability at all. And the professors don't care really. They're getting paid no matter what. They don't really care. You're an adult now. You make your own decisions, do your own thing. So that lack of accountability had me struggling big time. And so my sophomore and junior year, I continued to procrastinate and all this. It's like people just thought I couldn't do it. Like I just didn't have the willpower to do it. My parents were really frustrated with me, but I managed to continue to survive. So that was all that mattered. I could stay in, was still passing, all that stuff. I actually did take Adderall a couple of times under the table to do a 24-hour, like an all-nighter or like finish a project in like 2 days, whatever. And I realized it did help me. But my dad was a cop, so I grew up with a cop, and so I didn't really do anything that was like illegal or underage or anything like that growing up. And then college happened, I was able to do anything I wanted to, and it led to one time I went home back to Orangeburg, which is where he lived at the time, which is like an hour and a half north from here, and he called me out on buying Adderall under the table, and
I used to get some from my roommate. That's how I first did it. And I'm like, oh,
right.
this is amazing. And I don't know if it's just the drug or
Yeah.
I have a problem, but this is great.
And I never thought I had ADHD. The only thing that hinted at I had it is the fact that I didn't get the same feeling from Adderall that everyone else did. Like it actually helped me and I was able to focus and get things done rather than like go wild and like enjoy concerts or whatever people think it's for. And so he called me out on it and I was like, ashamed. I had bought it under the table. Oh yeah, we can cheers here in a second if you like.
Yep. Med check. Cause I have not taken it. I don't have a timer or anything. So it's like kind of chaotic.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So he called me out on it, and I was never really one to lie because I was scared of lying. I couldn't keep my lies because I couldn't remember how I lied. And so
is this RSD or something else?
No, this is just
so anxiety. What was it that made you not want to lie? Do you think it was anything ADHD related, or just how strictly you were brought up?
Oh, it was ADHD related in the sense of I couldn't remember my lie. So I always end up like contradicting myself and kind of ratting myself out. So I ended up just taking the brunt at the beginning.
Truth's easier to remember.
Yeah, exactly.
Still hard sometimes, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that hilarious, oh my God, that reel that you put at the story with a butterfly in the sky, the Radio Rainbow one. And they're asking you what you did over the weekend and you just blank out. I mean, it's like that kind of thing where it's like your own life. You should know what's happening, And it's like, oh man, is this going to be on the test? But
every Sunday it feels like we get asked that from like all of our family and friends, and they're like, how was your weekend? It was good. I think I'm alive. I don't remember. I watched basketball, I guess, for an hour. And I don't know. Where did the 23 go?
I call my Nana every Sunday, and she's going to have her on the podcast. I'm trying to get her out by MS Awareness Month end, which is the next 10 days. But we have like 5 different recordings that I'm slicing together in different ways. But it's funny because why is it funny? What were we just talking about? Let's think about it. It's funny because
the weekend we were talking about forgetting.
Yeah, every week I talk to her. And I have no updates. I have no good updates to give her because she's like, what happened with the car that you're supposed to sell or these other things. And I'm like, oh, Nana, please let's talk about anything else. I don't want to tell you I'm still doing the wrong thing. But what you said about fear and having, so what I like to say, and I was just looking up recently to see if I'm original with it or not, is I use fear as fuel. So if I feel fear, it's like, that's a sign that I'm going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And what I come up with is it sounds like it was in a TED talk by somebody else. I'm not sure if I saw it there first or not, but I don't like stealing things. So I was just looking it up, but really you're going out of your comfort zone. If you're feeling that tingle of, I shouldn't be doing this, or this is something that's uncomfortable for me. If you're not hurting anybody, obviously, that's a sign that you're doing something good, because if you're doing things that just make you comfortable, you're not probably doing enough things that are pushing your boundaries in a healthy way.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, actually. And, as we dive more into like my story and stuff, you'll probably see that kind of played throughout. I was very used to sitting in my comfort zone, but actually that's been a theme of what I've been working with a lot of my clients with recently. Is I'm sure you're familiar with Tony Robbins. He has kind of this idea of like a
of course
thermostat, right? So like our body is a thermostat, or our brain is a thermostat, in the sense of like it wants to stay where it's comfortable, right? So if our thermostat is set at 70 degrees, and yet like maybe at 90 is that we start pushing ourselves in a new level, our brain isn't comfortable there. So it starts to try and bring you right back down to where you're comfortable. Mm-hmm. So it takes a lot of consistency in a high temperature, quote unquote, to regulate that thermostat. And it takes a lot of time outside of your comfort zone and get used to that. So yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Can you give the listeners, I did a whole month ADHD thing. I still haven't released a couple. Sorry, Dan Flatt. Sorry, other people I've recorded and haven't released yet, editing stuff. So can you explain your understanding? Neither of us are medical professionals, correct?
Right. Definitely not.
So
doctor.
this is definitely our opinion here, but can you explain the difference in your eyes between the 3, what I believe are 3 types of ADHD? And I could be wrong because I'm not. Most people think there's one kind, which is like a bunch of boys running around doing too much stuff and yelling around, people. But really there are multiple types, and I'd love for you to just quickly define them so the listeners might get some insight.
Sure. Yeah. So, growing up, I always considered that there was just ADHD and ADD, right? I didn't know. But come to find out after I got my diagnosis of ADHD, I was like, man, I don't necessarily agree with that, because I'm not hyper, like I'm pretty like laid back, never got in a lot of trouble, was a good kid, quote unquote, whatever. And so I looked into a little bit, and ADD actually was no longer a thing. They changed it all into ADHD back in like 1982 or something. But there's still people these days that still say ADD, right? Because I'm not hyper, I'm just ADD.
To your point, Seth Godin says once they found out that doctors should be washing their hands before delivering a baby, and it increases the amount of the survival rate like an insane amount. It still took 20 years for all doctors to start doing this. So like it takes a while for things to get around to the public. So that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
To me, at least, especially because no one knows what it is unless you're suffering from it. So
yeah, we're in an age right now where so many people are learning about it too. So I think we're just getting to the point now where people are like, oh, like ADD doesn't exist. And, for even another 10 or 15 years, people will probably still use that term. So anyway, so ADHD is hyperactive. It's also broken down into combined type and inattentive type. And so I kind of realized I'm the inattentive type, which is what people know as ADD. So I have a really hard time focusing on one thing at a time and not getting distracted by other thoughts or sounds or things in my environment. I'm more hyperactive in my mind than in maybe like physically, right? So I think that's one of the bigger differences. People just assume that, and I think that's why they combined them all, right? Because there is still a certain level of hyperactivity that we all deal with. For you, it might be more active, more fidgety, more like high energy on the outside.
mm-hmm.
For me, it's more of this kind of like fast brain, like lots of ideas, lots of thoughts going through my head at any given moment, and having a hard time separating those and organizing them into like be able to grasp them. And they're also distracting. Mm-hmm. So, and then combined will be a little bit of both, right? So I would actually say that there are definitely days where I would consider myself combined, right? Then my psychiatrist never told me I had inattentive type because most of them wouldn't know.
I went once for like forever ago, and they gave me a 19-question quiz. I knew all the right answers, but I didn't lie. And then I basically was told I had ADHD. I found out yesterday from Ari, one of our close friends, who's also an ADHD coach, and she's combined as well. So she's like, are you combined, you think? And I'm like, well, what's the difference? I don't know. I've only known the one, and I'm happy to know more about myself. And I'm definitely both because I'm easily distracted. It's like, ooh, what's that thing? Let me go play with that for a couple hours. But I don't hear that and I don't see that. So a lot of times with the inattentive folks, you can get undiagnosed or go undiagnosed for a very long time, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was diagnosed at 25 and I'm 27 right now. So only 2 years, May 2nd will be my diagnosis 2-year anniversary.
Look at this hair. I'm 10 years older than you. I got a whole decade on you, but that's okay. You know more about this because I've literally learned nothing. I just know that it's hard to get my meds on time. It's hard to stick with the schedule with the meds because they treat you like a criminal. It's like, I don't know what to tell you, but the doctor said I can have it. So what's the point? Literally, I got somebody from the local CVS fired because they wrote it on a piece of paper and that said non-controlled substances. And I don't know that. And I don't care what form they give it to me in, but they literally I'm not gonna say literally again. Next time I went, they said that they fired the woman over it. I'm like, why would you tell me that? Why would you tell me that? Why would you put that on me and then tell me it? I didn't need to know.
Yeah.
Now I just feel bad because the system's so messed up that she can't fill a legitimate prescription. It's crazy.
Yeah. I have an iPhone, so I got a notification from Apple News this weekend. Like a highlight was talking about how ADHD medication is being over prescribed and too easy to get at the moment. And I get frustrated about that, especially like now as I'm getting more to advocacy and learning about like the negative stigma around it and how inaccurate the information is out there. Since COVID started, there's been over a 400% increase in diagnoses. And when people say, oh, well, it's been overdiagnosed and so many people are just going and easily getting diagnosed. Well, no, this is, I think, more accurate than it's been in the past. People are learning about it. And inattentive type is becoming more understood. And so, like you said, with your girlfriend, at least late diagnosis, there's so many people who have lived and died with inattentive ADHD and never known, so these people that are getting diagnosed now are the inattentive type, the females and the small percentage of males that also have it. So it's easy for us to go undiagnosed because we get so good at masking, right? So the people who like the typical, what people think of as the kid, the boy that got in a lot of trouble in elementary school, that got an early diagnosis. The thing was he kind of thrived off of the dopamine he got from the negative and the positive, feedback from his classmates, positive from his classmates, like laughing and carrying on with him and like him becoming popular because of that. And then also the negative, he got dopamine hit from, getting in trouble and stuff like that. And so he didn't care to hide it or mask it. Yeah. He didn't care to.
It took me a long time to get to the point of calling myself a failure, meaning to, actually address some of the problems that were going on. I'm like, I'm getting fired from every job I've had. Like, what is going on? I don't have to face it ever because corporate America doesn't make you do that. They say he worked from X to X and this is how much we paid him, because they don't want you to come back there or what. Like, they don't want to deal with you. They're like, we don't want to keep answering this question or whatever it is. They just don't say you got fired. So I could just make up any excuse. And then it took me like 5 times before I was like, I didn't choose any of these. I couldn't have stayed if I wanted to, kind of thing. And I'm like, what's going on there? And since I'm from Boston, my tone can sound shitty sometimes. And so I'm like, what can I do to make it not so bad? If I'm the world's number one failure and I'm giving you advice, how can I be coming from above you? I got to be coming from underneath you, being like, I don't know what's going on, but this is what I've learned. Take it or leave it. I'm just going to keep doing this. And to your point about Tony Robbins and a lot of other people, I read so many self-help books. Most of them said you got to get comfortable with failure. I could not implement any of the good things in my life. So I'm like, I'm going to put it on my license plate. I'm going to look at it every day and I'm going to get comfortable with that. And then everyone else in traffic is going to laugh at me and take pictures of my car, apparently. And then I'm going to get over people caring. Cause I mean, like after 3 months, after a year and a half of caring what everybody who drives by you thinks of you, you stop caring what people think about you because you just can't spend that much time doing it. And so it's like exposure therapy, but just weirder. So it was not what I intended with it, but I was even surprised like a dumbass that it was available. I was like, wow. But then no, of course no one wants that. And then I had a bumper sticker that said, honk if you're a big failure. And I was like, oh, I'm going to get a lot of honks. It's going to be nice. And then it was like a honk deterrent. It was like, they didn't want to honk at me because they thought that meant like it was like a non-road rage kind of thing. And I was like, I want more people to be honking at me. I like the failure thing. And I was like, it's hard to get people to do anything. I put a thing that said went to the website and I said, take a picture. They're already taking pictures. So I'm like, just zoom in, look at my website. And then it says, send me the picture. I got one picture sent to me over like a year and a half. And it was from an In-N-Out in California in the drive-thru. But other than that, nothing else. It's hard to get people to do stuff. So that's more talking about like media marketing and stuff like that. You got to really lubricate people's like entry point, because like it's tough to get anybody to do anything. I would absolutely, if I took that picture and I could zoom in and find out the website and go and they said give it to me, I'd be that one person at In-N-Out who's sending it over. Because like if I'm cracking up, like I saw so many people take the picture, why wouldn't you then do something with it besides whatever you did with it? But we can't get people to open emails even, which is way easier, I don't know if you do many email marketing, but you're crushing it on Instagram. Is that like your main thing, or do you TikTok as well? Or
Yeah, right now it's just Instagram. I do kind of cross pollinate with TikTok, but TikTok's not really I don't know, it's not really my audience. I don't think. I'm looking to work with driven entrepreneurs, business owners, and people who want to get better. And I think, there is, not saying those people don't exist on TikTok, but I think it's much less frequent there. Whereas there's a lot of small businesses on Instagram, right? Like,
where you should go?
Reels on Instagram. Go ahead.
And
LinkedIn.
And I'm not saying to go. Yeah, I'm not saying to go off of Instagram. I'm not saying that Instagram isn't great, but in addition to it, LinkedIn's now doing LinkedIn audio, which is a broken mess, but only like 500 people can host rooms at the moment. And so like all the people who are in those rooms are like very much, leaders in either audio or just leaders in putting themselves out there. And the bar for making people laugh is so much lower. So you're going to crack everybody up, because I make jokes all the time on there. And it's like during a business meeting, no one's expecting a joke. So it's like way funnier than if you're in a Instagram thing, which is joke city,
Yeah.
So you'll be like bringing over your hilariousness, and people will be like, what's this guy all about? And literally I've seen so many people who are just crushing it because they are funnier than the average LinkedIn user, and you would be miles beyond that. So I'd say get in there. And also that's how I'm going to be able to connect you to people who matter, hopefully. But that's where your long form content can live too, because if you want to have articles and stuff about small business owners and stuff like that, you don't want to be missing out on them because they're, while they might be on Instagram. I don't know. You tell me, what do you think inattentive ADHD folks would be on LinkedIn doing too much there?
Oh yeah. No, yeah. I absolutely agree because there's a lot of this brought me back to my point earlier of like a lot of us, I was this close to being in the safe job, right? For the rest of my life, just living in the corporate world, 9 to 5, making decent money and feeling safe. But I was,
That's what I had. Literally 6 times. I mean, I made 6 figures at multiple jobs, and I can't even get myself to work
wow.
because I'm being micromanaged to death.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah. So it's, there's a lot of people there now that have inattentive ADHD don't really know it, or maybe they do know it. They're just stuck. They're stuck behind a mask of wanting to be safe and do what the world says.
Mhm.
And so I definitely think they're there. But for now, I'm using Instagram.
It seems so boring, but I promise you, it'll be worth it. Tony Robbins is there. He's got 7 million followers on LinkedIn.
It's crazy. I have about 1,000 followers on LinkedIn actually. And when I first started, I was there. I optimized when I first got enough.
You're not too late. You're not too late. I promise you, because I only got like 2,000 something, but turn on creator mode. Then instead of connecting, you're going to be following you.
Yeah.
And then connecting is a secondary thing. But then you can get access to LinkedIn Lives, which I just did my first one the other day. And I popped on and I had no idea that 100 something people were watching because I was on someone else's thing. And I was showing everybody how to use Excel. And I was like, I had no idea. I couldn't read the chat. I couldn't see anything. So I was like, I hope I'm teaching people stuff or whatever. And then afterwards I go look at the comments. I'm like, oh my God, because it was someone else's stream that it was a restream that I joined into. And it's like, all you gotta do is network with the right people, and then they bring you into their place. And just, if you give them value, I'll bring you around those streets, but, and we'll be streets ahead.
Yeah. And I mean, I do have, I guess creator mode. I guess I'm like a creator on LinkedIn. After I started blowing up on Instagram, I kind of revisited and re-optimized to make sure that, like, in case people wanted to find me there, they could. And so,
we should do our first. I'll do your first LinkedIn Live with you. I just did my first one. I didn't know what I was doing.
Let's do it. I'm down.
I put a hat on because I was like, I don't want to look like an idiot. But then I was walking my dog in the dark, and I went on for 2.5 hours, and I didn't even know people were getting value. But it was fun because that's where my people are. Excel people. I know, like Miss Excel or whatever on Instagram with 600,000 followers and makes whatever ton of money, but I'm not going to be dancing around and pointing at things, and I can barely get the reel to work. You saw my reel the other day. I was like, I have to flip this image over. I don't know how to zoom in. I don't know how to do anything.
It's great.
So LinkedIn, though, I get it. It's like not as hard, except for the audio stuff is new. And I would be happy to do a live with you just to introduce you to it, because I have Restream, lifetime access to it, and I don't use it. And we could double it to one of your things or do whatever, or we can both get on someone else's thing. I know a lot of people, and then you could really see just what it's like, because I've been so bored by LinkedIn for so long. I've been like, no, I'm not doing it. No, get out of here, LinkedIn. You're not cool. People sending me invites that are like spammy, and I just hate it. Not that there's not that on Instagram. There's plenty of that too. But
oh yeah, so much.
But that's just one piece of advice for you. But I will not force it any further. So, is this your first podcast, by the way?
This is my second podcast. You almost got my first one. So I actually,
that's okay.
A lot of people don't know, and maybe let's get into like our first failure is, we've talked about this, I think, briefly. Then a good friend of mine and I, the one that kind of got me into more of the self-help, more motivated, season of life. Right before I got diagnosed with ADHD, me and him started hanging out, working out, listening to motivation, wanting to be like life coaches and stuff. And we started a podcast, and it was called Abundant FFE Coaching. You can actually still go find it. And it's really just like an interview style, kind of like conversation style between me, him, and another guy that was doing with us, which is actually his dad. And we went through like our framework and all that stuff for like 6 weeks. And we didn't make it to the 7th episode, which I think that's like pretty common, right? So there's some stat out there that says like,
yeah, why didn't you? Why didn't you?
Because I didn't edit it. This is before I knew I had ADHD, and I was like, the admin work of it was just awful. I'd rather just upload it. But I was also,
I've got one I've been working on for 3 days. I'm 19 minutes into it, and it's an hour and 44 minutes long. So I am feeling that big time. But also, a lot of people say, they go look at their metrics and they're like, okay, nobody's listening, So why are we doing this? And then they quit way before so I was 1 year into it, still getting one download a day. And then I popped up, and then I popped up again. And that's what it is. People just give up, and they don't focus on a goal they can control, like how many you put out. They focus on a goal they can't, like how many people listen. And if you focus on the content and creating it and getting better at it, eventually people will.
There's another reason to
get better.
All three of us were in like different seasons. We were all starting to start our own business outside of that. So Garrett, who's my good friend, is a real estate agent here in Charleston. So he was trying to build that business. I was trying to monetize my side of the business of coaching before it was ADHD coaching, actually. And then his dad was also in a training program for a coach and working at a full-time construction job on the side. So it was like that kind of fell as like a back burner, right? Like we weren't making any money off of it. We're all trying to provide for our families. And so it was hard to logically say, let's go, rather than doing an hour or two on our business, let's spend an hour or two making this podcast. And so I think that's why it kind of fell off too.
And then a lot of time editing it.
Yeah.
You know, to your point about admin stuff. But so this is your first time being a guest on a podcast. Is that accurate?
Nope.
Damn it.
So this is my second time as a guest. I was on another ADHD coach's podcast for kids, actually. So the ADHD podcast for kids, which was very interesting, very hard to talk to a group of kids.
Has it been released?
Yeah, it has. Yes.
Okay. Well, you'll be the first one on IMDb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
From this, because they probably didn't put that there, and you're definitely going on there. So so did you finish college? You did. You said you got the paper.
Yes.
Right. You met your wife.
Yeah. Met my wife my sophomore year. We dated for 2.5 years and then got married 5 months after college. We actually got engaged the day before graduation. And then in November of that year, got married. So November 4th of this past year was 5 years. Oh, Lord. 4 years. 4 years.
Just say the right answer now, and I will edit it to be right.
Yeah, it's 4 years. No, it should be fine. We always do this back and forth. It's funny, but
well, I love it. I'm going to call it an engageation is what you guys did. You got engaged and graduated within 48 hours. Is that right?
Yeah. Basically within 24 hours.
Exactly. So, same day, basically.
Yep. So yeah, I graduated.
That's awesome. How'd it feel? Did it feel like you finally were accepted by somebody? Or
yeah.
Because you get some RSD, right? You want to tell people what RSD is?
Oh no. So this actually just brought up my nothing to do with RSD. This is my biggest fail.
Oh, thankfully.
Can we go into that?
Yes, please.
So, and I'm glad we talked about this because it wasn't even on my mind. We started thinking about failures and like I was going to talk about, but like my engagement was a fail. And so it's very much like me. I have very unfortunate events happen to me quite often. I've been knocked out by a box that fell off of a shelf, like for no reason. I've, had stitches from a pillow before, like, just weird stuff. I'm
like cartoonish Acme, Wile E. Coyote stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Like just in the wrong place at the wrong time all the time, or just careless at times. Like just didn't give something enough thought. And so something stupid happened. So this is the epitome of all that. So I bought the ring. It was in a really big wooden box, and I could not fit this really big wooden box in my pocket without her knowing that it was about to happen. We used to take walks on the beach all the time here in Sullivan's Island, here in Charleston, and go watch the sunset and all this other stuff. So we went and walked. It was before graduation, obviously. So I was like nervous. And so I told her like I needed to go like de-stress before all these final exams and all this other stuff come up. And so like, why don't we just go walk on the beach to just relieve some stress? And I had already like set up like her sister somewhere. Go ahead. Sorry.
I imagine fanny packs were not in style at the time. So you couldn't utilize that.
No, not at all. Not at all. So I just had like a button up shirt on, some khakis and flip flops, whatever. And we get to the beach. I had her sister set up down the road or down the beach a little bit to take pictures. And so everyone knew but her. And so we started walking, and I had put the ring in my front pocket right here, like on the collared shirt, and just by itself, not in a box. And we got to the beach.
Ooh, that's a dicey move.
No, yeah. It was very, very stupid.
Sandy Beach too.
So we got to the beach.
Yep, go ahead.
Took off our shoes. It was a bit windy, so we started walking down the beach. And so we were like, well, we should go move our shoes so we don't get covered up by sand and we don't lose them. So we went and picked up our shoes, started walking again. every once in a while I do a little security check to make sure it was still there and didn't lose it. Not to mention, I spent like 2 years saving up for this thing because I was a broke college student and I worked part-time at a Chick-fil-A. So making money was not like a consistent thing for me. So
of course,
it took me
plus you're like, is it my nipple or is it my rock hard nipple or is it the ring? Oh, it's the ring.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got to a point where we were about to turn around again and go back towards the spot where we were going to get engaged. So I gave another tap. I didn't feel it. It was gone. And I'm freaking out inside my head, right? Like, she doesn't know. I don't want her to know that she's about to get engaged. And, because it ruins the surprise. Well, so we started backpedaling back like through our steps without me telling her what was going on. I just kind of naturally brought us back from the exact path that we'd come through. And I was checking, looking at the ground. And in my mind,
visual metal detector kind of thing, right?
Yeah. I was in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, we bent down right here to like feel the water and it fell out of my pocket and went in the ocean and we're never going to find it again.
Or the shoes. I heard the shoes came off.
Or the shoes. Yeah. So we get back, we sit down on a log where we had sat for a few minutes and talked, and I'm looking around my feet and stuff. And she's kind of like, what's going on? Why are you acting so weird? And at that point I was like, I've already looked everywhere, like just passively, and I need her help. If we're going to find this thing, I need her help. So if you can just imagine, I had to turn to my girlfriend and soon to be fiance, hopefully, and tell her, you were going to get engaged. I had a ring in my pocket and, I was going to propose.
Well, you don't say you're going to get engaged. You just say, I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Well, I was saying like
it was a little bit presumptuous.
I started by saying I had a ring in my pocket.
Okay.
And she started crying immediately and like had no idea what was going on yet. She just started crying. And I was like, now we need to find it. She's like, what do you mean we need to find it? And I'm like, it was in my pocket. It's no longer in my pocket.
I just want to interject because my superhero power, I call myself the finder. So that would be where I would, you send up the beacon and then I find things because I can find any lost thing that you've ever lost. So keep going. So now you've enlisted her help and she's like trying to manage the surprise of being engaged to and also the shock of having no ring and it's somewhere on this giant beach.
So, she was mad, she was sad, she was excited, nervous, whatever. Because like you mentioned earlier, it's a ring, a diamond ring. It was rose gold. So it's almost the exact same color as the sand. And I just texted her sister and said, hey, I lost the ring. I need your help to come find it. So she's walking and it's taking her 45 minutes to get to us. So couldn't find out she's a mile down beach. We would have never made it to her. Never.
Plus you're stepping on sand. You might be like burying it as you're walking.
Yeah. Yeah. And so finally we're looking around. Her sister makes it to us. My brother-in-law makes it to us to help us look for it. After about 15 or 20 minutes, we found it. And like you said a second ago, you picked it right up. It was right where I picked up our shoes at the very beginning of the walk. And it was upside down. The diamond was in the sand, like upside down, barely sticking out. And so, yeah, we picked it up and I was relieved almost to the point where I forgot to ask her to marry me.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's go home. We got it. You're all good, everybody.
Yeah. So here we are, 4.5 years later, almost.
Well, I'm going to tell you something I haven't mentioned on the podcast. So I have I wear this every day. I never take it off except for maybe to shower. It's my grandfather's dog tag from the Korean War. So it's a real one that he wore. My other cousin has the other one, but we were playing Walmart tag on our way to West Virginia to do like Habitat for Humanity kind of thing, but it wasn't called that, but it was similar. And so we're doing Walmart tag. And then I'm like, oh no, whatever that song is. And then just to get it stuck in your head. But it's basically like, I need to find this thing and I need to find it fast because we're on a school trip. Basically, they're going to want to leave and I got to go through this whole store, Walmart, and figure out where I dropped this. And we're playing tag. So it's like, it's not like we were doing logical stuff. We were just running around. So finally, in the little girl section, I find the dog tag on the ground. I'm like, thank the Lord. I cannot believe that I found it, but it's still around my neck now. And I was 14 at the time. So that was 23 years ago. Holy moly. I was not even as old as the difference between now and then, which is an interesting thing. But the point is, when you're missing one of those things, whether it's either incredibly valuable financially or significant, and you're under a time crunch and you're like panicking because you didn't want things to go this way. I can only imagine how much you were freaking out. And what can you walk us through the relief you felt when you found it? Because you said you almost didn't ask her. Were you just like cheering in your head that you found it, and that was really what it
Oh
was?
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I was so relieved that we found it, but my first thought was my dad's gonna kill me.
Oh,
I told you, like
that's
it went back to earlier, like,
classic.
yeah. Well, I was like, it's gonna prove everyone right because I'm careless. I was always known as careless and like that, like I wasted money and all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, I just spent nearly 2 years saving up for this ring. It was all paid off, and all of a sudden I have to do it again because I can't, like, I lost it, and like it's the most careless thing I've ever done. It felt like, and so when we found it, I was first relieved that like it's not gonna prove everyone right.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not careless because you had a lot of care in the thought of not having to show her the box, and like it was meant with care. It was just
Yeah.
poorly implemented, which is what we do a lot.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, 100%. And the fact that neither one of us saw it fall out of our pocket, my pocket, right? Like when we bent over, it slid out, and we're looking at the sand. I mean, I'm kind of thankful because that's now the story I get to tell is that crazy story. But if had it just fallen out and like landed on my hand and she saw it's like, well, there's the climactic event is no longer climactic. It just falls out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tragedy plus time equals comedy.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So yeah, relief was definitely a feeling. Excitement was a feeling. I felt bad too, because it's kind of like one of those things that like girls look forward to forever. And then something crazy like this happens.
And you planned it out. You planned everything out.
Yeah.
You bought the ring. You had everybody there. You did everything right.
Oh, it was great.
And then apparently you didn't do any more nip checks since the shoes went off, and then you stopped checking, I guess, for a while, right? It must have been a while.
Yeah. It was like 30 or 45 minutes. Yeah. And you remember, like, now that we know that ADHD is a thing, like 30 to 45 minutes, like the entire 30 to 45 minutes is a black hole at that point. Like, I don't remember anything, like where we went, what happened.
Especially because the panic sets in. You're like, oh, I just blacked out all of a sudden, because it's like, I am a million thoughts in your head all at once.
So, but yeah, I mean, I was excited because like I found it and I didn't have to buy any ring, and we were able to get engaged. And then we went back and celebrated with friends and family. I got to tell the story immediately and just relived the pain immediately. But she was excited. She was very surprised. She wasn't expecting it. Like we had kind of.
She's like, "Is he really hiding a ring, or is he just lying? He's fake dropping it in the sand." Yeah, okay, Mr. Poor Man.
Made for a decent hashtag. But we had like masked this graduation party as it was actually an engagement party, but it looked like a graduation party. But when we got back, they transformed it into an engagement party. Which was awesome, and all of her friends and family were there, and I'm actually really proud of it. And not a lot of people get a story like that. It was a fail, but it was also like just I don't know. I laugh so much at it now. It's like people love hearing the story too.
People love that type of stuff. That's why the world's number one failure thing. If I become successful because of this, I'm gonna laugh myself to death, because it's the stupidest way to become successful, is to say you're the world's biggest failure. Like, what? That works? Yeah. I was doing the real job thing the whole time, and then that didn't work. I got good at my craft of the job, and that didn't help, because people don't know how to manage someone with ADHD, and they're not going to hire you up to above into the C-suite when you're doing Excel stuff like a champ. They're going to put someone above you to make sure you're doing the thing you're good at, the technical skills. They're not going to let you, break through that ceiling. So it's like, well, if I'm going to take something that's 7 hours that my boss did and make it take 15 minutes, and you're going to pay him more money than me, I'm going to tell you to take 7 hours, and I'm going to screw off for 6 hours and 45 minutes. And that's why I'm in the top 500 Reddit comment karma, because I was messing around at work all the time, and Reddit was something that wasn't blocked by our IT system or whatever. Or I was working for enough companies that didn't even have IT systems. And so like I have over 1 million karma on there. It doesn't give me any clout anywhere though. So like I go to Instagram, I look like a jackass with 300 followers. My personal one is more followers somehow, and I'm trying so hard for the other one, but I don't care about followers. It's more like just trying to mess things up and figure out how to do it, because that's my thing, is fail it till you nail it, is what I say, instead of fake it till you make it. It's just, I like that you shared that story, because I mentioned RSD, which you'll explain in just a moment, but that meant, to you, it was like, what stories do you relate with that? And that's apparently this engagement thing. But Do you mind telling the listeners what RSD is? Because I'm not sure if I touched on it on any of the other episodes.
Yeah. So RSD is something that's not recognized with a DSM-5 yet. It's not like you can't be diagnosed with RSD. It's more or less just a symptom of ADHD at the moment that people are learning more and more about. And I've even gotten to the point now where I start saying ADHD is an emotional disorder rather than like people think it's like brain disability and all this, like a developmental disorder, which technically I guess it is too. But most of the struggles you see with ADHD, whether it's procrastination, organization, memory, like all of that is tied to emotions, right? So whether it's procrastination, for example, is usually we procrastinate because we're trying to avoid a negative emotion that we've had in the past from a certain task or whatever. So RSD is rejection sensitive dysphoria. And it's this idea that people with ADHD feel negative and positive emotions deeper than someone without ADHD. Like, so when we feel rejection, we feel it much deeper. So therefore we are terrified of it. So a lot of us with people like, and it's more, I think it's more with inattentive type and combined type than hyperactive type. But that's what led me to, 25 years of not knowing, is because I didn't want to feel rejected. I was a professional people pleaser. All I did was mask to my environment and fit in wherever I was at. So I didn't have to feel that rejection. And so I didn't have any enemies. I couldn't handle having an enemy. Like I had to make everything right all the time.
I was pretending like I like sports.
Yeah.
In Boston, because Boston's all about sports. And then like you can even watch every game. And then if you're not going on Barstool Sports or whatever and like keeping up with absolutely everything, you still are behind the times. And so one of my jobs I got fired from, I was at the World Series 2013, Game 6, where the Red Sox win the World Series. I'm there at Fenway for the first time they win the World Series at Fenway since 1918. I'm the least deserving fan to be there because I barely paid attention all year long, but I won the tickets at work. And then right after they win, I go to my coworkers. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I spark up a J? Because we just won the World Series. They said, nope, don't mind. And then come to find out, they did mind. So then I'm like, screw you guys. I'm out of here. And I went to Colorado where in 2014, January 1st, they legalized recreational. And I was there January 10th to try it out and then moved there in March. Because I'm like, I'm not going to get fired again from another job because of, and they were a super alcohol company. They were like, they had a Christmas party where you can only bring alcohol for each other. It's like, how hypocritical can you be? I mean, there's no chance that someone who's getting drunk all the time is going to be better than someone who's getting, I mean, like, be consistent at least with your policies, but it's crazy how, well, now that's coming around. Now you can get a medical card and stuff. And I had a medical card. So it's like these weird things where like we are trying to just get things that solve our problems, and literal medical professionals are telling us this is what you have, this is what you need. Sure, marijuana might be a little bit more easy to get access to from a medical side, but the point is that's because it's not really even federally regulated. If it was done in a way that was federal, I'm sure it would be just like Adderall and stuff. But I'm amazed at how many drugs like Xanax and opioids and all these other ones were not included in the same category. And it's like, we are the weird drug fiends. Like we're the criminals.
Yeah.
It's like, what's going on here?
That's why I love that meme of like, and I used it the other day on my story of like, I had 3 alarms set and I still forgot to take my medication. People were like, it's addicting. It's, it's like legal crack or whatever. And I'm like, no, like it's not. Like I forget to take my medication when I need it. Like I'm not like itching to take it tomorrow morning. I literally can't remember sometimes to take it because all it does is just clear my head. Like it just helps me focus. And it's not addicting. So there's a whole bunch of stimulus.
I remember being late for the job because I had like 8 alarms, of course, and I slept through all of them. And then it's like 11 or 11:30, and then they're calling like my family and stuff. I'm like, okay, this definitely isn't an emergency. I don't know why you would be doing that. But also they wanted to get me down as a no call, no show so they can put it in my file. And I'm like,
they can fire you.
Exactly. And I'm like, I'm not keeping a file of all the stuff you guys are doing wrong. I don't have time for that. I barely have time to fuck off on Reddit, So since we're going a little bit long, I just want to see, is there any thoughts or things about failure that you want to touch on before we get to the last couple of questions, which are more forward looking and less retrospective, or at least less than the past?
Yeah, absolutely. This is one reason I wanted to come on this podcast really, is because like I love what you're doing, just like embracing failure and I was sitting down with a good friend of mine the other day, and which Chris, one of the moderators in our clubhouse room,
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about resiliency and ADHD. We're learning more and more about ADHD because I want to continue to push the education of it on my platform and stuff. But think about like resiliency, and as I mentioned earlier, I love to snowboard. And me and my wife and another friend of ours went snowboarding and skiing a couple of weeks ago, and the friend was really frustrated because she kept falling. And it was hard for her to get up. And I was on the lift with my wife one time, just me and her. I didn't want the other girl to feel bad, so I mentioned, if we could just help her find an easier way to get up, she wouldn't be as scared to fall, which would then make her a better skier because then she wouldn't be avoiding the fall. She would be just skiing. Right. So oftentimes I think, and then I realized like a week later, it actually applies to life too. For me, I was always scared to fall because it was hard for me to get up. Right. It was painful to get up. I would be exhausted when I finally get up. And then, so I would be living life avoiding the fall or the fail. Right. So
Yep.
it would lead me to this, like, I wouldn't be confident. I would just be like too cautious. Once you realize that you can get up quickly and you're resilient, then you're not spending all your life resisting the fall, because then you can just fall and get right back up. It doesn't hurt to get back up. And so, that for me has been pretty consistent over the last like 2 years. I was terrified of failure before because of the rejection or even if it was just myself rejecting myself, that's maybe a little too deep, but like,
no, it is not, because it actually happens a lot. And you guys do it before you even say anything. And then it's like,
right.
And I say you guys, and the inattentive types.
Yeah.
You're already rejecting yourselves before something happens, or no matter which way you slice it, when you give them feedback, it's like rejection. It's like,
yeah,
I'm not saying that I'm rejecting you. I'm just saying, hey, here's a piece of advice that I think would help you, but there's no way to couch that enough really for someone who's already questioning themselves. It just sticks out that way. And the reason I'm so bright right now is because I pulled up my email, and the quote in the bottom of my email is fall 7 times and stand up 8. It's this Japanese proverb, right? So anyways, the point is, I totally agree with you. Tony Robbins says a similar thing. Like, how long do you wait before you stop trying to get a baby to walk? They'll just keep trying until they walk. You don't give up, because that's how life is. But then once you're old enough to know that the world sucks and people can be mean, the getting up to walk becomes getting up to talk. And then it's like, you don't want to do that because you don't want to get up. Like, the more you fail at something, the more you're like, oh, I don't want to do that thing anymore. And then the more people just really stop doing it. If you do it a few times and you keep failing, there's almost no chance people are going to keep going, unless they realize that the only path to success is by failing. True success, like real success, not like blueprint bullshit success from college, but like the magical stuff.
Yeah. And I would say like that learning that over time has helped me kind of get to where I am now too, even with social media, which we haven't spent a ton of time on. That's been a massive mindset shift for me. When we talked about RSD, it actually links to that too, and to failure. In the sense of like, in order for me to stop fearing failure, I had to first accept myself and like learn how to love myself. That's
why I skipped it. I flipped it around. I was like, I can't love myself, so I'm just gonna do the other way, and then I'll figure out, because people will want to support me if I keep saying how terrible I am. It's not how terrible I am. It's more like I fail a lot, so I might as well get used to it, kind of thing. But everybody listening, at this moment, I have like 317 followers, and Damon has what, 27,000 or something like that?
Right around that, yeah.
Real quick, how'd you get there? What was the way? Was it a long slog, or did you get randomly viral? How did that happen?
No, it was actually very fast. So the path leading up to it, 2021, I just started my business in March and decided, I always had this hate for social media because it's like giving into the mask, right? So like, everyone puts on this facade that everything's perfect and stuff like that, which is, I think, another reason why when it links to RSD, like hating to be on social media, because I felt like I had to show all of my successes, right? No one would put that engagement story on their Instagram, right? But I want to, like, now. And so how I got to where I am on Instagram is by radically accepting myself and being truly who I am on social media, right? It's different. It's unique. People put on facades all the time on Instagram. And so in September, I had 400 followers just like you.
All right.
I guess you have like 300 something. And then,
okay, but I'm listening.
Yeah. So over the course of October, November, December, beginning of January, I had 24,000 followers. And so
What was it? What was it?
to me, it still blows my mind. It doesn't make any sense. Oh, no, yeah. So
I know. That's not crazy sometimes.
it was the radical authenticity. I think it was just me
Yes.
doing it for myself. Like that was like when we talk about getting out of your comfort zone, even now with 27,000 followers, every single time I think about posting on Instagram, I start to sweat. Right. Like, and I have all the validation in the world to get out there because people, I have all these followers, people love me, people comment and all this stuff. But you come back to the internal validation. It's like, I still tell myself these lies that no one wants to see me. No one, I'm not from value.
With creativity, I mean, you can feel like, hey, whatever, the muse is gone. I don't have the thing anymore. I lost it. A lot of people can think like it's a one-time trick or whatever, but creativity is never ending. There's no end to it. You just got to really think about how you can be creative. And anybody who's putting stuff out there that's at all unique and their own is a creator. And you should think of yourself that way. And then the more you think of yourself that way, the more you are okay doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of, I mean, there's some strategy behind growing too. I had some help with learning a lot about Instagram and, being consistent with when I posted in December. I did 31 days in a row, which if you think about ADHD, it's like works 100% against ADHD, right? Like when can we ever do something 31 days in a row? It just doesn't happen. So for me, that was a big part of that growth.
Yeah.
And I don't even care about the numbers.
Oh, I know you don't, because you don't. It comes across, that you don't. I don't care about some of my numbers. Like I've had so many people visit my Excel site. I've had over 25 million minutes of my voice listened to explain Excel. Probably. I did the calculation years ago. It was 15 million. Then I just kind of assume where it's going because I moved everything from Vimeo to YouTube. Now it looks like I have no views because I wanted to get ads. But the point is, I need to be like in the top 1% of something before I'll brag about it, because otherwise I just know how much there is that I don't know. And I just can't do it. So being a guest on the show, you get a get out of fail free card. Now this is a Visa gift card. And so I'm just going to fake hand it to you and you can fake take it, but
thanks, sir.
Get out of fail free card. So this is, I explained it before the show, so I won't do the same thing I do every time, but it's basically, if you wanted to pursue something, if you wanted to go down a path that you didn't go down, obviously you succeeded in social media on Instagram. Is there something that you would have done differently? It sounds like you doing a lot of workout stuff, or you're snowboarding. Maybe you'd be a professional Red Bull sponsored flight guy. I have no idea. What would be the thing you could do if failure was not on the table?
Yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with snowboarding. Like I said, the first 3 times I went, I actually skied. And so I would have started earlier and I would have started snowboarding earlier.
I don't buy it. Let's do it again. I mean, let's hear some real things. What do you want to do? Would you want to be an actor? Did you want to do anything? What's the thing that you would not do? You did snowboarding.
Yeah.
What would be the thing you wouldn't do? And so therefore you'd use the card for it, I'd probably use it for working out or stand-up comedy or anything else that I struggle with. Maybe it's cleaning. I don't even know what your thing would be.
No, yeah. And so this one's going to sound really funny. It's actually hard for me to say.
You got it.
Before all of this, my passion was basketball.
You're tall, right?
And so, no.
Okay, so you look tall. I look short.
No, I'm 5'11". I'm
5'11" too. Everyone says I look short. You look tall.
Okay, yeah.
We're the same height.
So I would have tried to be a college basketball player or a college coach when I actually graduated with exercise science.
No, NBA, dude. You can't fail.
Fair enough.
Don't stop at college.
Yeah. No, yeah. I'd be, like the next Muggsy Bogues or something. Like,
he wasn't that short. I mean, he wasn't that tall, right?
The shortest NBA white kid ever.
He was 5'6" or something. Yeah,
he was
right?
super short.
Look at, you're already rejecting yourself there. You're lowering yourself. Most people who are 5'11" say they're 6 feet. And I say, no, I'm 5'10" and 3/4, because I actually know it's not 5'11", but I'm pretty damn close. So I'll round up 1/4 of an inch. But I'm not going to give myself that other, even though who's going to really tell the difference? But yeah, I'm faking it. I don't like it.
But now you're saying this about like, if I could do anything and I couldn't fail, I'm like, I would want to be like a big mountain snowboarder, like legitimately like pro level, like dropping from helicopters. And
Sean, what was his name?
Yeah, it's like Shaun White.
Shaun White. Yep.
because there's a lot that goes along with that. There's a lot of time on the mountain before that too. And
Helicopter though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
I have fear of flying. So like you just took snowboarding, which is already like I've never done, and then you added in the fear of flying part.
They're going out to like Telluride and like going to these untouched places and like jumping out of a helicopter
Yeah.
at the very top of a mountain that's never been snowed.
The freshest pow pow.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's something I might eventually get to actually do, but
There you go.
I'm talking about like getting paid to do it and like, being on GoPro videos and stuff.
The Red Bull.
Like that. Red Bull. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. It's sponsored in the X Games and all that jazz.
So yeah, let's go with that.
That's awesome. I love that. And then the last question before we get to where people can find you and make sure they can find you is what's the next thing you're gonna fail at? What's the next big failure? What's the thing you're gonna fail until you succeed? So I say, like I said earlier in the show, instead of fake it till you make it, I say fail it till you nail it. So what's the next big thing that you're gonna take on that you have not done? And I hope it's LinkedIn, but you can say whatever you want.
No. I was thinking like this is maybe gonna come from left field, and my wife won't even know that I'm gonna say this probably. It's probably parenthood.
Ooh, nice. That's a tough one.
Yeah. It's getting about that time. We're about a year. So I never actually said this, but I didn't make my first dollar until August. This is opening a whole other can of worms. So we're only six months into my business, but it's getting to a point where like,
hey, we like giving it away for free.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we like giving, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, that's the trick. That's how you do. I'm writing a book right now. I've not told anybody, so I'll just throw this other too. It's called When Givers Meet. And it's about not just like the go-giver thing, but more like when two people who like to give interact with each other, then it's like an arms race. It's like who can outgive the other person and how can you keep doing that? And that's the best kind of thing because everybody wins.
Fun fact. I have it written on my fridge and it's been there since April of last year. I want to give away $50,000 in 2023. And to put that in perspective on my taxes this past year that we just did 2 weeks ago, my wife and I netted $6,500 in profit. So for me to give away 50 grand is like radical, right? But
giving,
that's me thinking large. Yeah.
Power of giving. And also I think I've lost money on the books for the last 2 years because I spend more money than I make usually. And if I'm making money, it's funny because I joked that I couldn't take my job home with me. So I was like, I can financially plan another business, but if it's my own money and I get to do what I want with it, it's like, I'm already tapped out on finances and I don't want to think about it. And then it's like, it's playtime. I can do whatever I want. And I don't do the stuff that I can do for other people. So I have to probably trick myself that there's someone else who needs my help other than me in order to get myself to excel, model my own business, or get somebody else to actually make money off my business so that then I can care about it. Because when it's just me, it seems so selfish. I instead go do a podcast, start a podcast, even though I have a business that's like doing well, finally, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean,
and then like, I'll go do something for free.
Having a partner, right? Like having a business partner would help someone with ADHD because like now you have to do your part to make sure that they don't like pay for your lack or whatever. But if I'm 100% ownership, which I am right now, it makes it really hard to like stay motivated and not like
same here
affecting me.
That's why giving the 50 grand thing is a good goal. I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm going to match you on that and I'm going to try to give away 50 grand too. And who knows if I'll even make 50 grand in my own business, but things are starting to click now. And I think it's time to start putting my money where my mouth is because I love talking about giving. And there's something that I have not yet read on the podcast. I'm going to read it real quick before we get to your, no, you plug first and aligned with the reading. Cause that way, if people check out for the reading, they'll at least know where to find you. So where can people go to find you? I already know the answer with Instagram, but you should tell them for sure.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram at Winning with ADHD. I have about 27,000 followers right there. It's just focuses education and community around ADHD. So even if you don't have ADHD and you just want to learn about it, there's some entertaining content there and hopefully some stuff that'll shed some light on it. I'm also on Clubhouse at the Winning with ADHD Club. We meet 3 times a week and just chat.
And he's rushing through. So everybody, Winning with ADHD, just to be clear.
Thank you. I talk fast when I get excited about stuff.
Same.
So I'm gonna have to like enunciate.
Or when it's about yourself, self-promotional, that's also
Yeah,
a
yeah.
thing.
So I do have a website, winadhd.com, WINADHD.com.
Win ADHD. This is going to go on the show notes, so people never look there. But if you ever find out where the show notes are, people, this is all going to be there.
So very MVP, right? So minimum viable product. It's not super in depth. It's just a little bit about me, my story, and how to find me and hire me if you'd like to. So I am an ADHD coach for adults with ADHD. You don't have to be an entrepreneur. I do say that that's like my ideal client is people who want to learn how to start a business or have already started their business and just struggling to do the things.
Or successful business owners, I imagine you'd also help.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
They have more money, I believe.
Actually, I work with more successful business owners than I do with people who are struggling. I guess most of my clients right now are studs
because they don't know that they're inattentive, and then they realize they're lacking something, and then you're going to be able to burn to the next level that they don't even know about, because they didn't realize they had a problem. So more power to you. Now I'm going to read a quote. It's from 1968, a book called Greatest Salesman in the World. Some of the pronouns are outdated, so I'm going to update them on the fly because you know how 60-year-old stuff sounds. So first of all, thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'm just going to end.
Oh man, it's been awesome. I've loved it.
On this note, and then we can talk and chat afterwards about what you thought the experience was like.
Sure.
I will greet this day with love in my heart, for this is the greatest secret of success in all ventures. Muscle can split a shield and even destroy life, but only the unseen power of love can open the hearts of men and women. And until I master this art, I will remain no more than a peddler in the marketplace. I will make love my greatest weapon, and none on whom I can call will defend against my force. My reasoning they may counter, my speech they may distrust, my apparel they may disapprove, my face they may reject, and even my bargains may cause them suspicion. Yet my love will melt all hearts, like unto the sun whose rays soften the coldest clay. I will greet this day with love in my heart. But how will I do this? Henceforth will I look on all things with love, and I will be born again. I will love the sun, for it warms my bones, yet I will love the rain, for it cleanses my spirit. I will love the light, for it shows me the way, yet I will love the darkness, for it shows me the stars. I will welcome happiness, for it enlarges my heart, yet I will endure sadness, for it opens my soul. I will acknowledge rewards, for they are my due, yet I will welcome obstacles, for they are my challenge. I will greet this day with love in my heart. But how will I speak? I will applaud my enemies, and they will become friends. I will encourage my friends, and they will become family. Always will I dig for reasons to applaud. Never will I scratch for excuses to gossip. When I'm tempted to criticize, I will bite my tongue, and when I move to praise, I will shout from the rooftops. I will greet this day with love in my heart. I'm Ben, and I'm complete. Thank you very much, Damon, for being on the show.
Thank you, brother.
I appreciate it, and I can't wait for everybody to hear your story and get on LinkedIn. I don't even know why I'm saying this now because honestly, I hated it for the longest time. So just do it. I can even delete this part. Doesn't matter. I'm gonna hit stop though. And then you did it. You still did it, but I gotta hit stop. Would you like to be more efficient, productive, and confident in your work at the office? Over 750 million people worldwide use Excel, yet it's still a misunderstood and frequently misused tool. That's why I created Excel Exposure, so you can work smarter and not harder. The Excel Essentials course gives you over 5 hours of in-depth video lessons, plus it comes along with my master workbook, which has every function, shortcut, and all the examples to follow along. Investopedia actually included my course in their list of 6 best online Excel classes of 2021, saying it's best for visual learners. As someone who's an expert in failure, I can certainly teach you and your team how to avoid spreadsheet failures and create bulletproof Excel documents. Use the coupon code FAILURE for 20% off of the lifetime access price. Visit excelexposure.com for more information and also my existing award-winning free training. Thanks for joining me on the Failure Guy podcast. If you enjoyed it, feel free to tell somebody. And don't forget, always try to fail it till you nail it. Till next time.